Hi everyone, this is August, and I have chosen the second topic in this assessment. First, I will review Lam's reading. She studied the sexualization of teenagers with the example of Miley Cyrus, a famous American child star who performed a sexy dance at the age of 17. Based on qualitative analysis of more than 500 people, Lam studied online reviews of Miley Cyrus' performance, revealing themes of agency and innocence and adolescent girl sexuality, and the role of these themes in American culture. First, Lambert pointed out that adolescent girls sexualize themselves through sexualization defined by multiple factors. The first factor is a commercial factor. For 17-year-old child star Cyrus, it's time for her career transition to be reshaped. The shift involves sexualizing stars to gain the attention of adult male audiences. So her company made the transition by dressing her in sexy clothes and performing large-scale pole dancing on the show to showcase her sexy adult image. One idea is that Cyrus is positioned not as an agent of sexualization, because her performance was played in the larger context of Disney's capitalist power. She was simply used as a tool by the company to make money. In fact, her self-sexualization was led by the commercial considerations of her company. The second factor is the social factor. Under the male gaze of the mainstream patriarchal society, female roles are more sexualized. Women are objects watched by men, and women are valued primarily for their attractiveness and sexuality. So another view is that although Cyrus can be held innocent, but Cyrus actually gave herself more agency when it came to acting. And she was subjective. She had the right to choose her costumes and knew the consequences of her sexy dance choices. When Cyrus found that she could get more attention by wearing sexy clothes that fit the mainstream male gaze, she chose to continue wearing this kind of clothes in order to get more attention. Therefore, Cyrus' self-sexualization is influenced by the mainstream cultural norms of sexuality. However, this subjective self-sexualization is also criticized by post-feminism. As Gail says, is sexualization really the way to restore women's rights and power? Women are empowered, but they have to show their sexuality in a normal, sexualized way. This may be a new form of gender tyranny. Moreover, this over-sexualization of adolescents has created moral panic. This panic crystallizes an innocence of girlhood and suggests that girl sexuality is inherently dangerous. The media in the article here plays the role of moral magnets who believe in naive fairy tales, who see the world of children as innocent, free of cultural and social pollution, and who refuse to acknowledge the sexual behavior of children and adolescents. They describe Cyrus as a folk devil. They question Cyrus for being too young to be sexy and for being a bad role model for young fans. Cyrus' appearance destroys the myth of innocence and has a negative impact on the sexualization of other teenagers. The second one is a video that McTosh made. He used The Last Jedi as a case study of how it defied expectations for male heroes. Unlike traditional hero movies, it challenges the traditional role of male heroes in films under patriarchy. In traditional movies, women are always subservient to men. But in this film, female characters have higher power and positions than male characters, and they use this power to challenge and ultimately force men to change their behavior. Finally, men learn to trust men's ideas and decisions and become better heroes and better people. So I think this is a film that appeals to men to accept gender equality. Although the above materials describe their views in detail, I think they focus more on a single aspect, and I will further expand based on these materials. First, I think the first reading only focuses on the sexualized female characters in meta text. But in fact, men are sexualized in some meta texts as well. In movies, male sexy bodies can also be used by companies as an opportunity to make money. Male actors can also sexualize themselves in order to get more attention by showing off their sexy bodies. Second, at movie side, male gaze refers to the objectification of female sexuality to please heterosexual male audiences in visual arts and literary creations. However, I think it's not just teenage women who live under the traditional male gaze. Many adult women and men also be watched too. Men are also objectified and used as objects to watch. But interestingly, when women sexualize themselves to cater to the male gaze, they get a lot of criticism from society. However, when men are described as sex body objects, they don't receive a lot of attention and criticism. Here, I think the reason for this difference is that people internalize the male gaze. They have they have implicitly accepted traditional gender norms. Women are defined as not supposed to have strong sexual impulses. They are expected to be sexual objects without any sexual innuendo. They are submissive and passive. Therefore, when they actively display their sexy bodies, they are considered to violate and challenge the status of men, so they will be criticized. Instead, men are always described as sexually active, dominant, and instigators of sexual activity. So the objectification of men is not threatening and does not create an imbalance between power and traditional status. So we need to acknowledge that the idea of differentiation is based on gender norms in the male gaze. For the second video analysis, I think this film is unique. In the film, female characters have higher positions than male characters, and male characters are restrained and obedient. But in movies, women still play the traditional role of caring for men. They are still more concerned about men's behavior and thoughts, but this concern is just changed from obedience encouragement to mandatory encouragement. It's still a movie about male heroes. Therefore, what other recent films have appended traditional gender and sexual roles? So, to prove my point above, I chose a famous film, The Power of the Dog, which won many Oscar prizes this year as an example to analyze the questions I have expanded about. First, the film refuses to obsess and sexualize women. In the film, the director did not sexualize the female character roles. She wore shapeless clothes, and none of them showed off her sexy body. She doesn't usually wear makeup. Even when she was married, she could not be described as attractive because she wore only a dab of lipstick, and her hair was unseemly curled. And her husband George pursues her more for emotional reasons than sexual ones. On the contrary, the sexualized objects in this movie are the cowboys did by Phil. In film clips, they play bare-chested or full body in the water. They are flashy muscles and are sexually attractive. So the sexualized objects in this movie are the men, not the women. It is also interesting that Phil is actually gay, but under the influence of mainstream heterosexual culture, he hides his sexuality and dresses up as a tough guy to cater to mainstream masculinity. He also smokes Peter, who is effeminate and loves origami flowers, so he was sissy. This protected him from the moral panics of mainstream social culture about homosexuality and masculinity. But it's this toxic masculinity that gets Phil in trouble in the movie. He not only did not dare to rebel against mainstream culture, but also had his sexual orientation to cater to mainstream culture. This eventually led to his extreme depression. So I think both women and men are victims of masculinity. Therefore, this is a film that subverts the traditional description of gender. The director starts from a feminist perspective, and the object of sexualization and gaze in the film is not women, but men. In this way, the director shows that there is no difference between genders by portraying male victims of toxic masculinity, violence, aggression, anti-femininity. Anti-femininity does not mean real power. Finally, I would like to raise a question. In other media texts, such as video games, female characters are rare, and when they appear, they are often portrayed as very sexy characters. Therefore, whether exposure to sex female game characters will increase female users' self-objectification and decrease their body satisfaction is a problem that needs further discussion. So that's my answer to this assessment. Thanks for watching.